Hello. Okay. I move that we go into closed executive session on May 4th at 5:31 p.m. for the purpose of litigation, negotiations, and property. No character, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes, character?
Yes.
For character, professional competence, or physical and mental health of an individual, deployment of security, devices, or systems.
Thank you. Christy, do I have a second to that motion?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Motion by Christy and seconded by Nate. If there's no discussion, let's go ahead and vote on that motion.
Christy Sweat, yes.
Well, yes.
Jenny Sika, yes.
Catherine Kennedy, yes.
Nate Salazar, yes.
Mohammed, yes.
Melissa for me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our consent agenda. And I will entertain a motion for our consent.
I can do that. I move that we approve our consent agenda, which consists of our purchasing and accounting reports, A through E, Human Resource Services Report, minutes for the board meeting April 6, 2021, recommendations for Safe School Committee case number 21-005 or 005, and the review of the human sexuality law and policy.
Thank you, Christy. Do I have a second to that motion?
I second it.
It's motioned by Christy and seconded by Hoel Lee. Is there any discussion to this motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll vote. And what we're going to do tonight, according to our guidelines, is we'll start and we'll go 1 through 7 this time. And then next time we'll do a different voting rotation, just so that we're having a mix-up of how we go in order. So for this motion, we'll start with Precinct 1 and Hoel Lee.
Well, yes.
Jenny Sika, yes.
Catherine Kennedy, yes.
Nate Salazar, yes.
Mohammed, yes.
Melissa Ford, yes.
Christy Sweat, yes.
Right, that motion carries. Thank you, board members. Moving to the request to speak section of our agenda. We have one request to speak tonight, and the person who is requested to speak to the board is not able to be here in person and has recorded a message for the board to listen to. His name is Jesus Mendoza, and Business Administrator Kersley is going to play his recorded message.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jesus Mendoza and my phone number is 956-583-7012. I have been homebound for more than 10 years with a life-threatening electro-hypersensitivity EHS, which is caused and aggravated by exposure to the same wireless microwave radiation reaching children and teachers at school. My EHS has been recognized by federal and state agencies and by courts as a physical medical condition and as a disability. It is estimated that without knowing, more than 50% of the population is already suffering symptoms of EHS. Children, teachers, doctors, attorneys, and even a director of the World Health Organization are suffering from EHS. Please see wearetheevidence.org. Despite that EHS is reaching pandemic proportions, most doctors are in the dark or in denial and continue misdiagnosing and mistreating with harmful drugs and invasive procedures symptoms that disappear with just reducing exposure to microwave radiation. A law firm filed a federal lawsuit with evidence of how the cell phones used by their children emit more than 5 times the levels allowed by federal law, when even short doses of radiation above the federal safety limits causes harm even to healthy and strong adults. And 7 law firms are warning school officials of the potential civil and criminal liability of exposing children unnecessarily to harmful microwave radiation when an expensive hardwired internet is readily available. According to experts, electrosensitivity is not an isolated set of symptoms but ongoing injuries to immunological and neurological systems which are progressively aggravating to reversibility by exposure to microwave radiation. Some of the symptoms of EHS include pain, swelling of vital organs, swelling of face, hair, and eyes, symptoms of heart attack and stroke, rashes and loss of skin, flu and allergy symptoms on the stomach, sleeping, vision, hearing, memory, speech, concentration, and breathing problems, headaches, palpitations, arrhythmias, chest pain, high and low blood pressure, seizures, paralysis, unconsciousness, nose bleeding, internal bleeding, fever, tremors, and involuntary movements, dizziness, nausea, irritability, depression, anxiety, fatigue, weakness, muscle and joint pain, painful cramps, numbness, tooth pain, gum swelling and blisters, burning and dry eyes, eye pressure, blurred vision, asthma, testicular and ovarian pain, dry lips, tongue and mouth, altered sugar levels, impairments of smell, miscarriages, and birth defects. Scientific studies prove most doctors are confounding the symptoms of electrosensitivity with symptoms of other illnesses, including autism, ADHD, dyslexia, PTSD, and heart attack and stroke, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, hypothyroidism, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, rheumatoid arthritis, chronic fatigue syndrome, diabetes, and major depression and suicidal. The opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jesus, for that public comment. Right, we will now move to the report section of our agenda, beginning with a positive behavior plan update from Ms. Emily Sutherland, who's our Director of Social and Emotional Learning. Please come to the table, and with her is Dr. Sandra Buendia, who's the Executive Director of Educational Equity and Student Support. Thank you for being here. We're excited to have you with us and to have you in person.
Happy to be here.
It's fun to see you.
Oh. I might stand up. This will be short. I just want to, some of you will remember that back in October, I presented there's a new House Bill 58 that's about schools having a plan to address e-cigarettes in their school. And so back in October, I gave you kind of a heads up about this because it was new. And then we had plans presented to you from every school about what they were going to accomplish this year. So the second half of this cycle is there's now an end-of-year report. And so I just wanted to quickly give you a heads up that this is coming and that I'm hoping to have the materials to you to be approved at the next board meeting. But I didn't want you to be, it's been a long year and probably really possible that this is not high on your radar, so I wanted to make sure that I reminded you about it. So these are just a few slides. The first few are just a review of what it is because I know we have new board members since I did this back in the fall. So again, it's House Bill 58. It was actually signed in March of 2020, and so this year was the first school year that it was implemented. Next. Okay, so this is just a little bit like when it was signed, end of March, a lot of things happened at the end of last March, as you'll recall. So it was a sort of an effort to make sure that this went through this year, and I think our schools did a really great job making sure that these plans were completed. And in this slideshow, there is a link to the bill if you ever wanted to refer to it. Mainly what you need to know, though, if I kind of weed through it for you, is that each school must develop a positive behavior plan to address the causes of student use of tobacco, alcohol, electronic cigarette products, and other controlled substances through promoting positive behaviors. And in this school district, we added this HB 58 to our school board policy S3. So, also, the plan shall address issues including peer pressure, mental health, and creating positive relationships, and the plan may include programs, clubs, service opportunities, and pro-social activities. And then there's some guidance on when there are violations, how schools should handle them in terms of confiscation and reporting to school resource officers and so on. So, each school designated a positive behavior specialist. That's been done. It's a principal, an assistant principal, a counselor, or a teacher leader. So I have names from every school of their positive behavior specialists. And we've been following these dates all year. And if you just do next, it'll show you where we are now, which is right here. Right? So we did the plan. You guys approved all the plans. So I did check in with all the positive behavior specialists in March. They've submitted their reports to me, and now I'm giving you a heads up that these are coming. So it's time for the end of your reports. And you will see a OneDrive folder with each of the schools like you did for the plans. And I'm not sure how you did these, but it'll be the same. It's the same folder. I've just had them upload a report. So if you go to next, you'll see that, for example, this is Dilworth's folder. You'll see the plan, and then the ones that you want to look at are called reports. And it will be easy because you'll see that they were uploaded recently, like within a few days or a week, rather than months ago, right? So the most recent document. And they look a little bit like this. This is a template I designed. So it's like, what was the program? This is second step, for example. What level of implementation are they at? Where are they with this? What did you do this year? What do you still need to do? And how does this address the bill, the e-cigarette problem, right? So you're going to notice on a number of the plans or the reports that some of the programs the schools intended to do this year were paused due to COVID. I made sure that they wrote that down, like paused due to COVID. I told the schools, some of them were a little concerned about this, but I said, I can't imagine that anyone would think that all of their regular programming, we all know that didn't all happen this year, some of the in-person things that they normally do in terms of clubs and stuff. So you'll see they've listed all their programs that they thought they were going to do, and then what happened, and a number of them are paused due to COVID. So you'll see that. And we've tried to do some things with color coding this year. It sort of turned out inconsistent among our 40-something schools. So I just want you to know I'm aware of that, and I'll work on some like consistency with color coding next year. It's not going to affect the content, but you might see some different color coding. So I'll make sure that that's better next year. So heads up on that. And that's really it. I just wanted to make sure you weren't surprised by these that are coming. And I'll try to have those to you so they can be approved at the, I think it's May 18th board meeting. So, any questions?
Thank you, Emily.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Superintendent, do you have anything you want to add to
I don't.
that?
I think Emily can work with school leadership on
And then how would you like us to provide feedback prior to the board meeting if we have questions about the plan or feedback directly to you?
Yeah, I think I would like to see the feedback so I can make sure the process goes more smoothly next year. So if you run it through me, then I will get it to the right positive behavior specialists, and they can make some changes or clarifications if you need them. And that way it'll help me next year coach to make sure that we don't have like any of the same issues.
Okay. Thank you so much. Is that process clear for board members?
So like if I'm reviewing 9 schools in one email, just like for example, if I had 9 schools, I might have 9 different schools to give feedback to in that one email. Is that what you want?
Sure. Like if you have 9 schools and you write me an email and you just say, Emerson, I'm confused about X, Y, and Z,
Okay.
and that's just fine. And if you have no feedback, like if everything looks okay, then you don't have to write to me. That's great.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move to the next report, which is our COVID updates. Superintendent?
Okay. Probably many of you heard today that there was that the state reached the COVID-19 thresholds that were established in House Bill 294. Maybe you did. If you didn't hear that, that's kind of a big change for the state. But in terms of schools, that won't be a huge change. We'll still require masks. We'll still do the test to play. All of those things will still stay in place. The way that it's written in the new health order, though, it says masks will be required in schools until June 1st or the last day of school, whichever comes first. And so for us, that'll be a couple days before our last day of school. But that's very new, kind of hot off the press. So when we look at the dashboard and our conversation with the health department this morning that President Ford and I were in, we're currently kind of in a plateau in terms of positivity. And what they said was that it seems like the cases now are being driven mostly by 10 through 19-year-olds, which is middle and high schools. That doesn't show up in our dashboard numbers, though. So those may be cases that are outside of school because we're not seeing it. We still have 25 schools with no cases, 7 schools with 1 case, 3 schools with 2 cases, 4 schools with 3 cases, and 1 school with 4. So the numbers are still very low for us. We started vaccination clinics last week, and East High had a vaccination clinic, and Slicksy had a vaccination clinic. And I am kind of sorry to report that the turnout was not as great as we would have hoped. We ended up with about a little over 11% of the students in the 6 to 18 year age range at East that got vaccinated. and about 16.5% of those kids that were eligible at SLCSD got vaccinated. So right now, we've only set these clinics up for a one-time clinic at the schools, and I think everybody thought there'd be a much higher turnout. We're still working with the health department. They're still very open to ideas and ways to get more people vaccinated. So those conversations are ongoing. We have clinics coming up at the rest of the schools this week, and so hopefully, I really hope the numbers are higher. But even what they told us in the health department meeting was, it's been around 10%, which again I kind of find unfortunate because we're not done. We're not where we need to be yet, and so we'll do everything we can to promote that. We still thinking about next year and next fall. We'll have a strong testing capacity. There's a big grant that the state's getting. The Utah Department of Health will have a big grant that can help support that. And we've also had a conversation with a group of people at the university that are applying for a grant through the National Institutes of Health. And they're talking about it as a testing grant now, but would